reviewing Superfly because I didn't get a chance to review it this past weekend because I was in Chicago for a day or two and I didn't have time, and so I decided to do it when I came back. And yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. I do not have my Superman hat on. It actually feels really weird. I feel kind of naked without it. This must be what withdrawal is. I've never felt withdrawal like that addicts deal with, but this is what it feels like. This has to be what it feels like, right? Thing is, I was gonna review this movie, and then I looked at the main character in this movie, and I was just kind of like, wow, you know, he has really great hair. His hair is awesome, and his hair is fancy, and my hair is none of that. And I didn't want to come on here with a wig or anything like that, but I decided, hey, it'd be kind of cool if people saw what my actual head looked like every once in a while. For any of you people that are snickering behind your keyboards talking about how my head looks really weird and it looks like a half-eaten peanut and it's just lopsided and shit, seriously, can you just have a little bit of a heart, okay? There are two ends of the spectrum in human life, people, okay? Not everybody's head gets to come out looking perfectly symmetrical. It's either going to be a perfectly symmetrical, normal-looking head, or it's going to look like a half-eaten plum. Those are the only two options in life. Off of subject, though, let's actually talk about what Superfly is. Superfly is a remake of the 1972 Blaxploitation film, also called Superfly. Well, it's kind of about the same thing that the original was, but they're two very different movies. In this movie, Trevor Jackson plays a kid named Priest, and Priest is this big-time, fancy-ass drug dealer. He also wants to get the hell out of the drug dealing business. He doesn't want to do this shit anymore. Him and his brother, played by Jason Mitchell, decide to try to double their profits so that they can come up with this one big score so that they can finally escape the life for good. And because the screenplay demands that this be the case, complications ensue. I took one look at the trailer for this movie and I just said, that's dog shit. That's ass. That's gonna be terrible. I walked out of the movie going, it's half an ass cheek. You know, it's got some cheekage, but it's not terrible. But one of the bright spots definitely was Trevor Jackson as Priest. He was watchable, he was good, he gave a solid performance. There's not a lot of extra depth with his character, but he is very smart, he's very resourceful in the film. He's badass in the moments that he needs to be. I also like the back and forth that he had with him and his brother, played by Jason Mitchell. You might know him as Eazy-E from Straight Outta Compton a few years ago. Their back and forth and their banter and their chemistry was really funny. They were some of the funniest parts of the movie. In fact, they were probably the only funny parts of the movie, or at least the only funny parts that the movie was actively trying to get the audience to laugh at. In full disclosure, I'm not really a big fan of Future. I just don't vibe with him that much. But a lot of Future on the soundtrack, and I was vibing with it in the theater. I couldn't help it. Sitting in the theater like, yeah, 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 yeah. I wasn't actually doing that in the theater because that would be a really weird and awkward dance, and that would probably cause a lot of people to give me a lot of weird, awkward looks. I'll also say the production design for the film was pretty solid. They did a good job of making Atlanta look beautiful-ish. Action sequences aren't great, but they're somewhat entertaining to look at. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, I am a movie reviewer, and I have to give you the bare bones truth. All of it, nothing held back. Nothing held back, honest opinion, this movie is really fucking sloppy. Everything about this film is all over the place. Let's start with the tone. The tone of the film is so inconsistent. The film goes through so many highs and lows and leaps in logic, not just in the narrative, but in the way that characters and actors are performing their duties. I'm just saying some parts of the movie feel like a crime drama where it feels kind of gritty and serious, and then there are other parts of the movie that feel so silly and over the top that it feels like it should have been in a different movie completely. Half of it felt like a movie for adults and half of it felt like a movie for cartoons, and I just felt very confused watching the movie because of so much random bullshit that was thrown into the script. Same thing for the story. There's about 5 or 6 different subplots that pop up in this movie that you're probably not going to give a shit about. A lot of the subplots in this film feel like filler, and then the ones that don't feel like filler, it feels like a character has to make an insanely stupid decision in order for us to get from point A to point B. That starts happening too much in a movie. I just mentally check out because I'm just like, this script is nothing but convenient. Nothing in this script was genuinely created to flow together like an actual story. But I guess my bigger issue with this movie is not even with the movie itself. It's really more with the why of why this movie exists. A few months ago, we got Black Panther, and Black Panther, I think, was a really good movie for black people because it showed a black superhero with a predominantly black or African-American cast, and it touched on real things that affect black people. It actually focused on African culture. It actually uplifted black people. At least that's the message that I took from it. You may have taken something different. The point is, not every black movie has to be Black Panther. I'm not saying that this movie needed to be culturally relevant or anything. But as a black man, sometimes it does get a little bit tiring to see the same old stereotypes being put out there. And if you're going to have a tired-ass stereotype about drug dealing and thugs and gangsters or shooting and whatever in a movie, at least make the movie competent. And they just didn't do that get here. Guys, this movie is not complete and total shit like I thought it was gonna be, but at the same time, it's probably a little bit of a squirt. Like, if you ever sat down in the toilet and you just squirted a little bit and you thought there was gonna be more and it just kind of like, doop! That's what this movie is. This movie's just a doop! Superfly was super forgettable, and even though it's kind of a guilty pleasure, it's gonna go in Smallville where it belongs. Alright guys, those are my thoughts on Superfly. You didn't see this movie, you don't give a shit about this movie, so I'm not gonna ask you about the movie. I'm going to ask you about my hair, so tell me, how lopsided does it really make my head look without that hat? Put it in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace!